Chapter 2: The Answers. There is always an answer, of course. There are countless self-help answers which any of us can find in any bookstores. If we are to believe what we read on the dust jacket of self-help bestseller, all any of us has to do is read the right book, and beginning tomorrow, and we will be able to change what we would like to change, life better, and find the achievement each of us is seeking. Having spent more than 20 years studying most of the literature of success, I have found a consistent and fulfilled promise. The promise of our success waiting just around the corner. I have learned that I can be hypnotized, possessed, or reborn, and not just in the religious sense. I know that I can attend seminar which will give me the answers. I can become a goal setter and a true achiever. I can learn to organize my day, set my priorities, and accomplish more than I ever dreamed possible. I can learn to think positively, to be more creative, relate to others, and become centered. I have learned that success is mine for the taking. All I have to do is accept my destiny of achievement and greatness. I have read great words of wisdom and been told that I can't change anything in my life. I choose to change. And yet, after learning this great and marvelous truth, and some of them are, I will take with a grain of salt anyone's claim that they can give you the secret of success. If anyone offers you to the moon, don't buy it. As much as I have been a student of success, I have also been a skeptic. For many years I read and studied and listened, and I wondered if there are so many keys to success, why are not they still working? Why are there shelves full of self-help bestsellers? It seems to me that if the books were working as they ought to work, we wouldn't keep needing the new ones. If there are so many answers to our question about what to do to make life better, why have so many people failed at making these great ideas work? If they work for a time, what makes them stop working? Have you ever attended a pep rally or a meeting in which someone gave a rousing motivational speech? Why didn't it last? Have you ever been inspired to change, to achieve, and then stop? Where did the inspiration go? The problem is not with the books, the problem is not with the seminars or with the motivational talks. There are a lot of self-help ideas and techniques that are good. They should work and they could, but they don't work or they don't keep working because of something that all of us overlook. That's not how the brain works, the human brain. That incredibly powerful personal computer control center that each of us has is capable of doing for you anything reasonable that you would like it to do, but you have to know how to treat it. If you treat it just right and carefully give it the right directions, it will do the right thing. It will work for you in the right way. But if you give your mental computer the wrong direction, it will act on those wrong directions. It will continue to respond to the negative programming that you and the rest of the world have been giving it without even being aware of it. The 148,000 no's. I will give you an example of some of the negative programming most of us have received. During the first 18 years of our life, if we grew up in a fairly average, reasonably positive homes, we were told no, or what we could not do, more than 148,000 times. If you were a little more fortunate, you may have been told no only 100,000 times or 50,000 times. However, many it was considerably more negative programming than any of us needs. Meanwhile, during the same period, the first 18 years of your life, how often do you suppose you were told what you can do or what you can accomplish in life? A few dozen times, a few hundred. During my speaking engagement to a group across the country, I have had people to tell me they could not remember being told what they could accomplish in life more than 3 or 4 times, whatever the number. For most of us, yeses we receive simply didn't balance out of the no's. The occasional words of belief were just that, occasional, and that they were far outweighed by our daily doses of cannots. This negative programming that we all receive and still receive has come to us quite unintentionally. It has come to us from Our parents who wanted to protect us. It has come to us from our brothers, sisters, from our teachers, our schoolmates, our associates at work, our life mates, advertising of all kinds, and the morning paper and the 6 o'clock news. Leading behavioral researchers have told us that as much as 77% of everything we think is negative, counterproductive, and works against us. At the same time, medical researchers have said that as much as 25% of all illnesses are self-induced. It's no wonder. What if the researchers are correct? That means that as much as 75% or more of our programming is the wrong kind. Until very recently, no one understood well enough the human mind, how it really works, and the result was that, without knowing what they were doing and without not recognizing the immense effect this casual programming was having on us. They have been programming us in the wrong way. Everything and everyone around us, without being aware of it, it has been programming us. Unfortunately, most of it was the wrong kind of programming, and we took it too hard. Yes, yeah, year after year, word by word, our life script were attached layer by layer, nearly indelibly. Our self images were created in time. We ourselves joined in. We began to believe that we were being told by the others, and what we are telling ourselves was true. No matter how innocently given or subtly implied, we began hearing the same word and thoughts repeatedly, hundreds, even thousands of times. We were told, or we told ourselves what we could not do, could not accomplish. Repetition is a convincing argument. Eventually, we believed what others told us and what we told ourselves most. We began to live out the picture of ourselves we had created in our minds. In time, we became what we must believe about ourselves, and in so doing, we created a wall which, for most of us, will stand invisibly but powerfully between us and our unlimited future for as long as our old programming remains in force. Unless the programming we receive is erased or replaced with a different programming, it will stay with us permanently and affect and direct everything we do for the rest of our life. Fortunately, that does not have to be the case. The end result of your own thoughts. I was quite young when I first heard biblical passage which read, "As a man thinketh, so is he." I recall shaking my head, thinking that could not be. How could we possibly be what we think? And after all, is not our physical self one thing, and our private thought another? Little did I understand that the biblical passage had hit the nail of the truth squarely on the head. It would be years later, however, after much research and following the discoveries through which modern-day neuroscientists have begun to unlock the secret of the human mind, that I would come to know just how correct, how scientifically correct, and that biblical passage had been. In the last 2 decades, we have learned more about the workings of the human brain than was known throughout all history prior to that time. We know of that by an incredibly complex psychological mechanism, a joint effort of body, brain, and mind, we become the living result of our own thoughts. Through scientific discovery, we have proved the relationship between our own mental programming and the matter of whether we will succeed or fail in any endeavor we undertake in life, from something as important as a lifetime goal to something as small as what we do in a single day. Have you ever considered just how much of what you do, how you act, how successful you are in is dependent on the conditioning and the programming you receive from others and on the conditioning you subsequently bought and kept giving yourself? It is virtually impossible for any of us to do anything, no matter how insignificant, without being affected by our conditioning. Every step you take, a move you make, or word you say is affected. It follows that if every action you take of any kind of is affected by prior programming, then the end result of your action are equally affected. In short, how successful you will be at anything is inexorably tied to the words and beliefs about yourself that you have stored in your subconscious mind. And what is stored there, for most of us, was decided for us by someone else. Think for a moment what you might do differently tomorrow if you were someone else, someone whose programming was different from yours, or what might you do differently if you have been broke up with a completely different, more positive set of attitudes and belief and feeling from those which you may have no attitudes and belief and feeling, which in every case would assure you of having an abundance of self-belief, enthusiasm, and achievement. What could your future hold? If you had just the right kind of successful new mental program, would you be doing the same thing for a living that you are doing now? Would you be doing your job in exactly the same way? What about your personal life? Would you change anything, improve anything? Would you have reached any more goals than you have reached? Would you have more money in the bank or any more financial security than you have now? What about your day-to-day life? Would it be less frustrating and more rewarding? And with different preparation or conditioning, what could your future hold? Would it be the same as your future holds for you today, or would it be better? What if each and every day, from the time you were a small child, you have been given an extra helping of self-confidence, double the amount of determination, twice the amount of belief in the outcome? Can you imagine what tasks you might accomplish more easily, what problem you would overcome, and what goals you could reach? After all, success ultimately is up to the individual. It is not the path, it's the rider. It is not the road, it's the runner that counts. Why is it? Then, some accomplish nearly any task more easily than others, achieve their goals more readily, and live their lives more fully. Could it be that those who appear to be luckier then the rest have actually only gotten a little better programming, or perhaps have learned how to erase their old negative programming and replace it with something better? Then the rest have actually only gotten a little better programming, or perhaps have learned how to erase their old negative programming and replace it with something better. After examining the philosophies, the theories, and practice methods of influencing human behavior, I was shocked to learn the simplicity of that. One small fact: you will become what you think about most. Your success or your failure in anything, large or small, will depend on your programming, what you accept from others, and what you say when you talk to yourself. It is no longer a success theory, it is a simple but powerful fact. Neither luck nor desire has the slightest thing to do with it. It makes no difference whether we believe it or not. The brain simply believes what you tell it the most, and what you tell it about you, it will create. It has no choice. At the time I first recognized that this one simple clue could lead to a breakthrough in individual attitude and performance, most of what we thought we understood about the human brain was little more than speculation. Medical researchers and mind or brain scientists had not yet explored or mapped the mazes of the brain to the extent to which they have today. Few of the brain's complex electrochemical mysteries were fully understood. Even today, the brain is only just beginning to give up its secret. Its day more progress is made, and researchers have learned to anticipate an unending drama of new discoveries. There was good reason for my excitement over my own rediscovery of the ancient truth, which told us that we think is what we become. There were tens of thousands of devout believers who, through one religion or another, were professing the same truth. To them, it was inevitable. I suppose that scientific research would one day prove their claim that we control with our own minds most everything in our life, including our health, our career, our personal relationship, and our futures. But to me, it was the scientific understanding of how the process worked which so ignited my interest. What if, I wonder, we could begin to understand the working of the mind so truly what that we could actually learn how to change or override our old programming and replace it with a specific word for word new program? And what if we could do it in such a way that we could evoke and improve our attitudes and our behavior fast? Not through years of difficult study or training, but easily and simply anytime we choose to. That is exactly what the brain will do. An understanding of the simple function of our own personal computer, the human brain, is what has been missing from most of the books and most of our motivational talks. An understanding of that one simple requirement of our mental machinery can help us make a simple but vital change in how we accept programming from others, and more importantly, what we say when we talk to ourselves. Chapter 3: What Works and What Does Not. The discovery of any new thing of value is a time of excitement, and like the dream we had as children of finding chests of gold, doubloons, and priceless jewels, there is a part of us that keeps seeking the treasure. But instead of looking for rubies and gold, I found myself searching for a single small key, one that would unlock a door I knew must lead to a better life for many. I was searching for something that I sensed that had been missing from the books and messages and solutions of many, so many of who had come before me. It became obvious to me that if the final solution to a better life, more happiness and personal fulfillment had already been discovered, then something vital was missing, something that was so essential, so important to the whole process of achieving success, that without it, the other solution would not work, at least not for any length of time. I began to recognize that this missing ingredient could be the glue which would, for the first time, bind all the other elements of success and self-fulfillment together. One look around told me that my first assumptions were correct. Even the best-selling success solutions were able to create lasting changes in only a handful of the tens of thousands of people who tried them. They would work for a time, and then the average individual would revert to his old ways after the first excitement of the brand new self-belief wears off. The dreams soon give way to the realities of everyday living. Since the old programming controls the habits, it's the old habit which I want again take over, the new goal of conquering the world and making great changes, which sounded so good in the book, is left to be tackled again some other day. I would prefer to be more optimistic, but how many people do you know who really have their lives totally together? Which means something like being successfully successful, day after day, year after year. It has been proved that it is not impossible to live a full and rewarding life day in and day out. It's just highly unusual. So even though we were told that any of us could live highly successful lives, and we were given specific instruction as to how to go about it, very few of us actually have done it, at least not for longer than a few weeks or a few months. Then it's back to the old way, just like before, living a life as we always have, maybe getting a little ahead or getting by and wondering why we are not doing as well as we think we should. Even the very best ideas which we found in the best-selling book, even the ones that look like they would work for certain, will work very well and then slowly lose their importance in our lives. Exciting ideas, great breakthroughs, and inspiration for the mind, which seems to offer so much, became once read book, sitting forgotten on a shelf. Could it be, I wonder, that the missing ingredient also was somehow connected to our individual programming? In order to learn that answer and in order to learn what does work, I decided that it would help to first understand what does not work and why. On the trail of a sensible solution. Of all the self-help concepts, I have uncovered the concept of programming the brain with a more successful new picture of yourself is the most sensible. I'm not the first behavioral researcher or author to figure this out. Others have come to the same conclusion as I, that whatever you put into your mind in one way or another is what you will get back out in one way or another. Although not every writer in the self-development field has arrived at the same conclusion, only because they were looking at the problem in a different way. There are those who have written books and shown millions of the way to a better life, if not permanently, at least for a time, and while they were leading others toward happiness and a more abundant life. I was busy watching the great philosophies of success. In time I began to analyze why only a few of success principles work and why most did not. I study the philosophies of success, analyze the list of instruction, the how-tos of making more money, being better manager, losing weight, overcoming depression, getting a better job, setting goals, living with others, managing time, or just generally being more successful. I tried the success technique for myself and talked to dozens of others from many walks of life who had done the same. I talked at the length with many of the leaders of the success industries, corporations whose business it is to sell us success. I talked to the customer who attended the seminar, bought the books, or listened to the cassettes. I talked to the employee of the company who were in the business of selling success formula to learn if they too apply the principle which their company promoted, to learn what really worked and what did not. I immersed myself in the world of success, examining every facet of that fascinating field from the inside out. I consulted with the leader of the industry. I examined their method, their system, and their solution. During this year of observing, practicing the technique, and analyzing the result of others, I continue to ask myself the question: if there are so many good solutions, why are not they creating permanent changes in our life? As an example, why do so many people who read a book on something as worthwhile as positive thinking decide to start thinking differently and end up 6 months later thinking just as they did before they read the book? Eventually I come to some clear conclusion about self-improvement. 1. Most of the authors are on the right track. For the most part, they appear to be sincere, carrying individuals to believe in the very best for the human race. Number 2, if you follow their advice, most of it will help. Number 3, if you stop following their advice, invariably it will stop working. Some of the success principles I study work longer without continued effort than others, and however, nothing you read once is permanent. None of the self-help programs continue to work by themselves or without constant reinforcement. 30 years of how-tos. You may or may not be aware of these kinds of self-help concepts I'm talking about. In case you haven't spent a lot of time improving yourself through the reading self-help literature during the last 20 or 30 years, I will summarize its popular teaching for you. The literature says that if you want to be more successful, you should believe in yourself, keep your priorities straight, take responsibility for yourself, create your own future, focus on what you want, learn to visualize the outcome of your goals, never let anyone control your destiny for you, be creative, think big, control stress, be aggressive and assertive, think positively, chart your own course, set specific goals and review them often. Spend some time each day improving your mind, reviewing your results, and readjust as necessary. Be tolerant, do everything with love, don't hate, have courage. Recognize that most of what we believe about life is an illusion. Be honest, work hard, believe money is a good and it will come to you. Have faith. If you agree to do it, enjoy it, be strong, show affection, manage your time, dress right, learn to sell yourself, take time off, believe in a higher self, eat right, live prudently, seek the aid of others who are in sympathy with your goals, give assistance to others, keep motivated, meditate, be optimistic, trust others and be worthy of trust. Recognize that success is more than money. Be kind, see the big picture, take care of the detail, get organized, procrastinate, stay in control, keep fit, see problem as opportunity, learn everything you can about your job, don't be afraid of success, be generous to others, believe in God, reach a little higher than you thought you could, set your sights, take action, never give up. If you do all of that, I have been told you will be successful. Even being skeptical, I had to agree. If you combine the best of all the self-help or self-improvement teachings available to us, it is clear they have given us most of the keys to success. If that is true, and I believe that it is, then what's wrong? If the principle and in many cases even the detailed instruction are all clearly outlined for us, why do we need more books, more solutions, and more reminders? In a recent year, it was estimated that more than $200 million worth of self-help books and material were purchased in the US alone. That's quite an industry with all of that. What is missing? What is the missing key? What would complete the puzzle and offer each of us lasting individual success and fulfillment? The missing ingredient. In my analysis of what worked and what did not, I found three ingredients which are clearly missing from most of all the literature. Number one, the first missing ingredient is permanence. All external solutions are temporary. Even the best of ideas work only for a time. Without constant attention and effort, even the most exciting success breakthrough run their course and eventually end up on our list of good ideas and good intention. Few, if any, are built in ways to keep them working. I have yet to find a book that would jump down off the shelf and tap you on the shoulder each morning and say, "Hey, remember me? Remember what I taught you?" Why are not you still doing it? Number two, the second ingredient missing from the most of the success literature is a knowledge of the physiological process of the human brain based on what we know about actual minor brain functions. Without an understanding of the actual process by which the human brain accepts information, like programming, and in turn respond, direct, and control us, it would be difficult or impossible to create any success plan that work and kept working indefinitely. The brain runs the ship. If you want to make a permanent change of any kind, you have got to follow the rules. If you want to make a change and make it stick, you haven't got to do it the way the brain works. Number three, the third missing ingredient, the most important of all, is a new word for word set of direction, new programming to the subconscious mind, the control center of the Chapter 4, New Discoveries. During the last few years, neuroscientists have learned that much of what we had suspected about the human brain is true. The brain operates very much like a personal computer. It's not that simple, of course. For one thing, the brain is many times more powerful in most respects than the most powerful computer we have yet created. Even though the adult human brain weighed only about 600 grams, about 3 pounds, and looked more like a lump of gray cauliflower than a desktop computer, the brain function is more important in some important ways, much like the man-made computer, which are a pattern of the year. In non-technical language, a computer has three basic parts of a video screen, a keyboard, and a program disk. The screen is what we use to visually display what we are programming into the computer. The screen also displays the result, the words, numbers, picture that we want the computer to store or compute for us. The keyboard, much like a typewriter keyboard, is what we use to type in the direction of an information we give to computer, and the disk is a small sheet of magnetic recording tape onto which we record the information, whatever we record or program, until that disk will stay there forever unless someone changes it by erasing the old information and leave it blank. Or by typing the new information. Each of us, along with our brain, has similar part in us. The computer video screen is comparable to our appearance and our actions that we display in the world to the world around us. In a human being, the computer keyboard is the same as our five senses. Anything we hear, see, taste, touch, smell, or anything we say to ourselves is a program into our brain through our keyboard, our five senses. A personal computer uses a floppy disk to record the program and the information which the keyboard feeds to it. In the human computer, the floppy disk is our subconscious mind. Everything we experience is recorded program into our subconscious mind. If you understand computer, my simplified explanation will be obvious and easy to understand. If computers are alien to you, it is important only to understand that whatever is programmed into your own personal mental computer is permanently programmed. That is, whatever programming you have received up to now is just as important and just as permanent as any program which has been key punched into the most powerful man-made computers. The control center. To help simplify the complex process of how and why the programming of the human brain affects us as much as it does, let's take a quick imaginary look into the brain's central control room. That is the part of the brain where command and are received and where all the order are handed out. The part of the brain that makes us feel good, work hard, get things done, or when not so well directed, it makes us slow down, fear the outcome, and stop dead still in our track. Imagine standing in the control center of the brain, in front of a wall which is completely covered with literally tens of thousands of light switches, much like the light switches in our homes. One section of switches control our moods, another section governs our health, another group of switches control our emotions, another our planning function, another our hopes and dreams, another section is responsible for how we act, how we move, sit, stand, walk, look, speak, react, and respond. Everything about us, our memory, our judgment, our attitude, our fear, our creativity, our logic, spirit, is controlled by the switches in our mental control room. When any command is transmitted to the control room, the proper direction are sent to the appropriate panels or switches. Within the fraction of a second, some of the switches are turned off or turned on. Within the brain itself, a network of tens of billions of neurons and electrochemical switches called neurotransmitter telegraph messages to every part of the brain, selecting just the right section of switches, which in turn switches part of us on and part of us off. The brain's infinitesimally small chemical receiving center respond to almost imperceptible electrochemical signals, which deliver nearly unmeasurable but highly potent chemical substances to our brain, our central nervous system, and to our bodies, which in turn control or affect everything we do. It is the brain's responsibility to take care of us. It does so by constantly monitoring our needs and directly the various part of our system to take the necessary action. The brain automatically responds to every one of our unconscious electrical or chemical, mental, and physical commands, and those that are principally concerned with keeping us alive. The biochemical electrical impulse called thoughts. But the brain responds also automatically to another kind of command, another exceptionally compelling electrical impulse, which also turns the switches in the brain on or off. And those electrical impulses, the special mental command which direct and control us, are called thoughts. Every thought we think, every conscious or unconscious thought we say to ourselves is translated into electrical impulses, which in turn direct the control center in our brain to electrically and chemically affect and control every emotion, every feeling, every action we take, every moment of every day, whatever thoughts you have programmed into yourself or have allowed other program into you are affecting, directing, and controlling Chapter 6. The Wall. All of us talk to ourselves all of the time. Our self-talk may be in spoken words or unspoken thoughts. It can take the forms of feelings, impression, or even wordless physical responses, the clutch in the stomach that comes when we are surprised or afraid, or the rest that comes with excitement or joy. We are thinking machines that never shut down. From childhood on, we have been watching, listening to, sifting, sorting, analyzing, judging, cataloging, and storing everything that goes on about us. Most of our self-talk is unconscious. We are not even aware of it. At times, our self-talk comes in feelings that cannot quite be put into words. At other times, it comes in a little flashes, flickers of thoughts which never quite catch fire or glow bright enough or last long enough to become ideas. Clearly thought out and understood. All our all of our thoughts, all of the pictures in our minds are always tied to something else that we already know about. If you are given a new thought or a new picture, one you have never thought about or imagined before, your brain will immediately find something else in your mind to tie the new information to give it sense, to help you understand. Every new thought you think has to have some old thoughts to stick to, a proper place to feed. When you are told something new, your brain will, in a fraction of a second, scan through literally millions of mental filing cabinets filled with every idea or thought or impression you have ever stored. In that same fraction of a second, based on the information already stored in your mental files, your brain will send you an instant telegram telling you how to feel about this new thought, where it should get filed, and whether you should accept it or believe it, keep it and use it, or disapprove, disbelieve, and throw it out. The more we believe about something, the more we will accept other ideas which are similar. The more files we have in our mental filing cabinet which tell us something about ourselves, the more we will attract and accept other thoughts and ideas which support and prove what is really already stored in our files. The more you think about yourself in a certain way, the more you will think about yourself in that same certain way. The more you think about anything in a certain way, the more you will believe that that is how it really is. The mind works that way because the brain always tries to tie any new thing you think to something you already believe. Understanding that makes it easy to understand why it is hard to teach old dogs new trick, change our minds, or unstick us from the ideas we are solidly stuck in. It also tells us why the longer you believe something, the harder it is to change that belief. The longer you have bought the thought, the truer it is. In our mental control center, we feel to overflowing the files that support what we have told ourselves most, and we throw out anything that disagrees, and meanwhile we keep ourselves busily, blissfully ignorant of something about us that could have made a difference in our lives, something about ourselves called truth. A self-made wall of negatives. If only I were smarter, if only I were taller, if only I had more time, if only I and on. You can feel it by yourself. Imagine sitting down at your personal computer keyboard and typing any one of those directions into the brick wall of bad programming that stands in our way. Each of us each day would be living out more of those dreams, reaching heights of attainment we seldom even dream of. We are fortunate to be living at a time when we are beginning to understand what goes on inside that incredible mechanism we call a brain. By unlocking even a few of the secrets about our minds, we have learned that we have a personal vote in the outcome of our own destinies. We have learned that what we put into our brain is what we will get back out. We also have learned that the subconscious mind is a sponge. It will believe anything you tell it. It will even believe a lie if you tell it often enough and strongly enough. The brain makes no moral judgments. It simply accepts what you tell it. The desktop computer at the office does not care what is programmed into it. It never questions whether you are telling it the truth or not. It just accepts and acts upon whatever you program into it. It makes no difference whether the things you have told yourself or believed about yourself in the past were true or not. The brain does not care. The machine that never sleeps. Your subconscious mind is working right now, day and night, to make sure that you become precisely the person you haven't consciously described yourself to be. If you program pictures you as having a trouble earning enough income, your subconscious mind is doing everything it can right now to make sure that you have a trouble earning more money. If you have conditioned yourself to believe that you cannot stick to a diet, you can be sure that your subconscious mind will make sure that no diet will work for you, at least not for long. Your subconscious can only do for you what you and others tell it to do. In a previous chapter, I say that during the formative years of our lives, each of us is taught no or what we cannot do. Tens of thousands of times each of those cannot was a directive to our subconscious minds, and as we, because of our conditioning, began to follow suit and say similar cannot to ourselves, we fell into the unconscious habit of programming of ourselves in the same wrong way as did our parents, friends, and others around us. And right now, at this moment, each of our subconscious mind is working to make sure we become just as those tens of thousands of negative directives programmed us to be. And since that time, of course, we have continued to give ourselves new programs. The example of negative statement I gave you earlier are only a few. But we often hear it about adults too. The implication is always that the individual in question is not going to make it if he does not change his attitude. I would agree. Without a good attitude, a perspective which allows one to see the opportunities ahead and set his sights to reach them, he never will. But even more important is the fact that in order to possess the kinds of feeling which work for us, we have got to have the right attitudes to start with. But where do we get our attitudes? Are we born with them or do they just appear out of nowhere? Our attitudes are not accidents. They don't just happen. Our attitudes are created, controlled, and influenced entirely by our four beliefs. What we believe about anything will determine our attitude about it, create our feelings, direct our actions, and each instance help us to do well or poorly, succeed or fail. The belief that we have about anything is so powerful that it can even make something appear to be something different than what it really is. Belief. It does not require that something be the way we see it to be, it only requires us to believe that it is. Belief does not require something to be true, it only requires us to believe that it's true, and that's powerful stuff. That means most of what reality is to teach of us is based on what we have come to believe, whether it's true or not. It is possible that tomorrow morning in some classroom in the Soviet Union there will sit a little boy or girl who believe that the United States is bad. It is also likely that tomorrow morning in some classroom in the United States there will sit a young boy or girl who believes that the Soviet Union is bad. It makes no difference whether it is true or not. It is what they believe, and what they believe will affect their attitudes, their feeling, and their action. One day, when they grow older, they could shout at each other. To each of them, it would be right. It would be what they believe. When I was a child, sitting on the courage bench trying to understand what the man in the pulpit was talking about, I remember him telling us to believe, and I didn't know how to do that. I thought that some people were lucky and some were not, and some just naturally got to believe and some didn't. I did not know yet where beliefs comes from, and I certainly didn't know the power of that belief would have in my life and the power belief had held in the lives of every human being who ever had lived. As an example of how important belief can be, imagine believing something about yourself, something that was working against you, but was not true. Let's say that you believe that you had trouble making friends easily or being accepted easily and naturally by others. You believed that you took a social backseat to people who seems to be more popular. As a result, you find yourself standing back at social gatherings, self-conscious and unsure of what to say. At your work, you often missed opportunity because you did not speak up, even when your idea was better than the idea that was accepted from someone else who did speak up. And let's say that you knew that you wanted to be intelligent and witty and fun, but you believed that the outside of you just didn't measure up. Since whatever you believe about yourself will end up affecting what you do, you can be sure that if you believe that you are not as socially successful as you would like to be, your belief about yourself will turn out to be correct, whether it was true or not. All social behavior is conditioned. No one is born popular and socially adept. Every social grade, skill, comfort level that we have, successful or unsuccessful, is based on what we believe about ourselves. If you tell yourself that you cannot, what can the only outcome be? We all have thousands of big and little beliefs about ourselves, and some of them probably are true. I suspect that most of them are not, but your mind will act as though they are true if you believe them. What makes us believe? Do our beliefs just one day spring out of nowhere our beliefs handed to us on the day of our births, like a birthmark of our heritages to be kept forever? Do we create them ourselves? Where do we get them? Our beliefs are not accident of nature. Our beliefs are created and directed entirely by our 5 programming. We believe what we are programmed to believe. Our conditioning from the day we were born has created, reinforced, and nearly permanently cemented most of what we believe about ourselves and what we believe about most of what goes on around us. Whether the programming was right or wrong, true or false, the result of it is what we believe. It all starts with our programming, what we have accepted from the outside world of or fed to ourselves has initiated a natural cause and effect chain reaction sequence which cannot fail to lead us to successful self-management or to the unsuccessful mismanagement of ourselves, our resources, and our futures. It is our programming that sets up our belief. And the chain reaction begins in logical progression. What we believe determines our attitude, affects our feelings, directs our behavior, and determines our success or failure. Number 1, programming creates beliefs. Number 2, beliefs create attitudes. Number 3, attitudes create feelings. Number 4, feelings determine actions. 5, actions create results. And that's how the brain works. If you want to manage yourself in a better way and change your result, you can do so at any time you choose. Start with the first step, change your programming. Chapter 9, the 5 levels of self-talk. What is self-talk and how does it work? The definition of self-talk can be simply stated. Self-talk is a way to override our past negative programming by erasing or replacing it with conscious positive new directions. Self-talk is a practical way to live our lives by active intent rather than by passive acceptance. With self-talk, we have a way to give the new direction to our subconscious mind by talking to ourselves in a different way, consciously reprogramming our internal control centers with words and statements which are more effective, more helpful to every part of us that we would like to improve.